right, everybody. We ready? Hey, everybody, and welcome to my writing playground. This is episode 10 of Diverse Sci-Fi and Fantasy Stories podcast. I'm your host, author Alicia McCullough. Thanks for tuning in. This podcast is all about me honoring my son's legacy by sharing my diverse science fiction and fantasy stories with the world. Today, I have the wonderful opportunity to share the works of another author who also writes diverse science fiction and fantasy. Let me tell you about Jen. Jen Fanelli is a world-traveling sci-fi author who's ridden a motorcycle in a monsoon, swum with sharks, crawled under barbed wire in the mud, and hiked everywhere from hidden coral deserts and island mountains to steaming underground urban tunnels littered with poetry. She was once locked inside a German nunnery and recently had to find her way through swamp-filled Korean foothills dotted with graveyards on Friday the 13th under a full moon without a flashlight. On her quest to rescue stories often swallowed by the shadows, she's delivered babies, cradled the dying, and interviewed everyone from prostitutes to senators. You can read some of her work for free at byjanellefanelli.com. You want heroes and fairies, or join her quest to build a clinic for the needy at patreon.com/becomingahero. Jen's a practicing MD, FAWM candidate, and a sexual assault medical forensic examiner. But when she grows up, she wants to be a superhero. Hey, Jen, I absolutely adore your bio. You are so my warrior sister in arms.
Thank you so much. It's true. The whole thing is true. It's really an honor to be here with you. You have a pretty interesting bio yourself. So especially with the history and the Marines and everything else like that. So I've
Yes.
definitely enjoyed stalking you to get ready for this.
Stalking is good. So we did talk about me being a woman Marine or WM. Do you want to tell us a little bit or just take 1 minute to tell us what it means for you to be a woman in the Army and how that frames your writing?
Yeah, that would be fine. So I'm a physician and sexual assault medical forensic examiner. So a lot of what I do is support. Obviously, I'm not the 11 Bravo or the 11 Charlie out there doing the real stuff. So I have a lot of respect for what I consider, the real, real soldiers, right?
Mhm.
I've always done my best to I believe that everyone should have soldier skills. So I've always done my best to get those soldier skills, shot expert on my M4 and I tried to get my EFMB, other things like that. So these are all, different adventure or skills that, you try to pick up.
Right.
Unfortunately, fighting and all those kind of things is very important to me. It's always been interesting to me. But it's always been more of my role, just as a provider to more take care of people.
Mm.
I'm sometimes a poor match, I've discovered, for things in the Army lately. My health is tanked, so I'm currently in the medical board process. And I think that has informed my writing more than anything else,
Mm.
discovering kind of how people with mental health are treated, which is not always positively in the Army and certainly not in the medical profession.
Right.
Um, and seeing also how we tend to stigmatize different diseases, actually, even
Mm.
again within the medical profession, physical diseases as well as mental diseases.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of that has influenced how I look at, people who are maybe outcast or
Mm.
not given the highlight. I've also seen a lot of, so I love and respect the Army, and I get annoyed when people who are not in the Army do a lot of critiquing. But
Mhm.
as someone in the Army, I mean, I've seen my patients experience discrimination for race or gender.
Mm.
Um, and I've done a lot of arguing, fighting, and reporting regarding those things. And a lot of that has gotten me in trouble.
Mm.
And so that kind of fight when no one will believe you, because
Mm.
sometimes when you have a mental health disorder, people won't believe what you say because
Yes.
they don't understand that, hey, having something like depression, having a mental health
Mhm.
disorder doesn't mean that you can't witness stuff and know
Mhm.
things. You can
Yes.
still see things and know things. So
Yes.
a lot of that, that kind of lonely kind of struggle, or the fact of not being believed or not taking seriously a lot, even when it's true, there's real things that are going on, or the fact of taking care of people who are too afraid to fight for themselves a lot of time.
Mm,
That whole watching that whole world and a lot of the tragedies that go on. Like I've seen people who were accused of adultery as
mm,
retaliation for filing a sharp complaint. Um,
mm,
other it was sharp for those of you not in any kind of military, is a sexual assault or sexual
mhm,
harassment complaint. In this case, it was a sexual
mhm.
harassment complaint. And that kind of retaliation and other things like that are again, being in the sexual assault world, I see this stuff more than maybe the average person does
Right.
in the military. So all of
So
that
let
has been
let me
holding me
just tell you this. You are a warrior girl. You're standing up for folks like that. That is so critical and so important. For
not doing a
to
very good
be
job,
well, but you're giving
because you
voice
you
to the
lose a lot
voiceless.
where
Yes, right. I do want to, I know this is a little bit off tangent, but one of the things that I've talked about openly on my blog is my grief journey.
mm,
And a lot of people don't realize what it means to be on grief brain. And
mm,
grief brain, in some ways, it is debilitating, just
mm-hmm,
like a disability. And I know
yeah,
some people, they don't want to really just think of grief in that way.
mm,
But for me personally, I had to relearn how to work and relearn how to live. And it
yeah,
is from despair to depression. And I think some of the things that people say to someone when they're struggling with grief or when they've lost something, someone really close to them, I don't, if they looked at grief like they look at a disability, like someone who had dyslexia or someone who had a major event like a heart attack, they
mm,
wouldn't say some things to people like
yeah,
you'll see your loved one by and by, or no one would say to a sight impaired person, you'll see one day in heaven. I mean, I know that might sound insensitive on my part, but it's hard sometimes when you're struggling and you're trying to cope, and people are saying things to you that they mean well by, but that ultimately you wouldn't say those kinds of things um, to someone who had a disability, I think, because you
mm,
have to learn how to re-navigate again, pick your
re-navigate.
life back. Yes, yes.
When my little brother died a couple years ago, someone told me at a party, because it was the same month that he had died,
Mm,
and they asked how I was, and I said, "Well, my brother's still dead." Um,
mm,
and their response was, "Geez, you're bringing down the mood of the party,"
yes,
which was like, okay, I'm sorry that, like,
yes,
I'm bringing down the mood of your party. My whole
yes,
mood of my whole life is down. My little brother just died.
yes,
So
yes.
yeah, people sometimes don't know what they're
I,
saying.
I don't think they realize it, but I think you wouldn't tell someone that with dyslexia, you'll get over it, or in time it'll go away. And obviously, in time, it's not going to go away. And you just have to learn how to reroute and re
Yeah,
navigate and relive your life again. So,
yeah.
all right, let's get on to your scene. All right. So, tell me a little bit about the scene that you want to share today. Is it short story or part of a longer work? Where does this come from?
So I wanted to give you a little bit of a choice, and I will do either one. So I write both superheroes and sci-fi. I am, generally branded online as Jen, your sci-fi and superhero says. In superheroes, I wrote about the comic character who shoots his author. Um, Based on, I read a lot of comics and got angry at them and thought if I was a comic character, I would really want to kill this guy for doing these things to me. And so that's a story featuring an Asian American superhero character, and a lot of the heroes in my life, especially when I was younger, um, were young Black teenagers who were not allowed to be nerdy because it made them not Black enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at this and be like, how does what you like change the color of your skin? That's not fair or correct. So a lot of times the things that I've seen in all the people that I've watched, because I'm a support character in my life. A lot of times I'll see people that, wow, like that person, like other people kind of become my heroes.
Right.
And so that's kind of what informed that story. And so I can read a scene from there that I have here. I actually even have, I can show you the book cover and everything else like that. So that's from this. This is an old book cover because
Yes.
the current cover has been redesigned by my wonderful artist, Nathan Segala, who's from Uganda. But so I can read you the first scene from there from the point of view of Jace, who is the basically the reader's avatar through the story, because it's a story about authors, readers, and characters and how they interact. So that's one possibility. The other thing is, I was recently picked up by Kevin J. Anderson's publication company, Wordfire Press. Most of you who are listening have probably heard of Kevin J. Anderson. He's written, Star Wars books, written books
Yes.
comics and all those other kinds of things. And my novel that's gotten picked up there, my series that, we're looking at the series right now, is called Neodymium, the Neodymium Chronicles. The first book is Neodymium Exodus. And it's it's another one of those galaxy far away type space operas. But
Right.
it's about basically space ninjas, mostly teenagers, who kind of talk to something invisible, and the most powerful government in their universe wants to stop them from doing that because it believes that the scientists believe that they have either a contagious brain disease,
Mm.
because they'll share this invisible person with other people and then they'll talk to this person. So they're worried that they have either an invisible brain disease, or the more superstitious, like magical people in this other government think that these children who talk to invisible people are actually portals for an evil entity that wants to get into our universe. Um,
Okay.
so this government tries to track down and kill these children,
Mm.
or to force them to reform, and put them into schools. And
Both
that's
of those sound like my kind of
so that's
stories.
once another story. And of course, all of it, there's I don't have to try to put strong female characters in my stories because that's what
Yeah.
I've seen in real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's who my mother and my father were. So I'm super pale, but I'm actually mixed race, and my mother and my father were originally told that they shouldn't get married because
Oh,
they might have mixed race babies if they got married. Oh no, what would
yeah.
happen with that? Um, the and they owe a lot. They owe their ability to get married to, back in Virginia, the couple they were called the Loves. It was a black and white couple.
Yes, the loves.
Yep.
Yes.
Who they
Mm-hmm.
had a huge court case that eventually they won the right to be married as a black and white couple,
Mm-hmm.
and being a mixed race couple. And that history has been like, that's part of what allows me to even exist, right?
Mm.
So we all owe each other. As
Mm-hmm.
pale as I am, I owe that black woman for
Mm.
standing up for what she loved, which was her
Yes.
husband and what she wanted to do. And we all kind of owe each other. we're all we,
Mhm.
we're all connected in one
Yes, yes.
body of people. And so
Mm-hmm.
because of that, it's not like I have to try on purpose to, like, okay, I'm going to put this kind of character, check the box, this kind of character, check the box, because that's not how people are. We are if you look in the world around you with open eyes, you will see heroes of all colors, shapes, and sizes, and genders,
Yes.
and everything else. And I think you can't be a real author unless you
Mm-hmm.
are a diverse author, because
Right.
you can't look at the world really and only see like white male heroes. If you're doing that, there's something, you're not
Something
really
wrong.
looking
You're
at the
missing
world.
something.
Yeah. So
Okay, so you want to tell me which one you decided on?
it's
I'm
up to
okay with
you.
either one of those.
Okay. Because I know of a lot of people like superhero stories. I can
You're gonna go with the superhero. Okay.
we
I
can
like it.
we can switch it up. We can switch it up a little bit. So, all
So
right.
you want to tell me before you start reading, you want to tell me about your the person um, or your protagonist in the story? Is that
Absolutely.
okay?
So, if we, you know what, let's go with the I was looking forward to you choosing between the superheroes and
Oh,
the sci-fi.
you can do the superheroes if you want. I'm cool either way.
Okay, that's what I Um, actually, let me do the sci-fi because I think that the scene that I've chosen for the sci-fi has a little bit more bang for your buck right away at the beginning.
Okay.
It's about the main character is a that she's one of the space ninjas basically, and is about to she's about to get called as a witch because of what she thinks and who she is.
Okay.
And so this is right away at the beginning. So Nia, I'm going to go ahead and read. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
real excited and jittery. I love being on here with you.
All right, you go
Oh,
right ahead.
all right. Lem. Everyone in the ice cream parlor froze when Lem Benzarin grinned. Everyone except the meat man, the literal lizard in a suit, consummate businessman who dealt in favors and pounds of flesh. He didn't notice. His ruby-scaled claw left a streak of something like sweat on the plastic parlor table as he leaned over and cooed at Lem's little sister. Lem stirred the dregs of her milkshake, her eyes never leaving her glass. In its reflection, she watched the string of drool drip down onto the monster's business suit. Lem was listening to his heavy breathing. "She ain't for sale, Skins," Lem said. She said it for everyone in the ice cream parlor to hear. She wasn't a big fan of warnings herself, but the people who ran her life required them. The businessman's green hair puffed in offense. His slit eyes gleamed in the sunlight filtering through the wide storefront windows. "Mind yourself, witch," he sneered. "Witch, huh? Lucky for her you didn't call it crazy." A loud slurp silenced the whole parlor as Lem finished off her shake, savoring the cool, sweet cream on her bitter tongue. 4 seconds later, Lem had chopped down the businessman like an overgrown holly bush. No one interrupted. No one had helped either. The space lemur policeman in the corner stared at the phone in his paws, ears perked as he pretended not to see. The Wonder Frog server behind the counter tapped his bulging fingertips on his skull as if truly worried about dessert. Lem tightened her grip on the meat man's wrist, spitting through her teeth as she ground his face harder into the plastic table. "Whatever I am, everyone in here knows you're selling little girls to the Greys. And one day I'll prove it and get Officer Scritch over there off his duff for a change." Her voice chopped to a husky whisper. "But the day you talk to my sister again, Officer Scritch won't be looking for you. Won't be a you to find." Meatman grunted. He got it. "Aight." Lem straightened, wiping her brow on the sleeve of her rough brown civvies. She yanked the guy to his feet. He wheezed hard. She whacked him on the back. "Go get out of here. See a healer about that asthma." The ruby-scaled businessman stumbled between the cafe tables and out the wooden door, huffing and crying. Lem smirked after him. Man, if only all problems could get solved like this. If they'd just let her off her leash, she'd turn the entire town upside down. And I'm going to stop there so that I don't take the whole podcast reading.
I like
I thought you might, which is why I chose that. I don't know if everyone listening to the podcast has read Alicia's work, but she writes a lot of really strong female protagonists who do a lot of punching and beating things up. So I figured you might like that one.
That's always exciting to me. Okay. Do you want to tell readers where they can go to find your work?
Absolutely. So this book, Neodymium Exodus, is coming out from Wordfire Press in October of 2021. You can actually get short stories in this world and learn about Lem and her space lemur best friend and her little sister, and all her, adventures in a universe where all humans are basically mixed race, because that's what we secretly actually all are.
We are.
Now. So you can find her at byjenfinelli.com. That's my name, JenFinelli. Or if you prefer phonetics, Juliet Echo November, Foxtrot Indigo, November Echo Lima Lima Indigo.com. And there'll be a little pop up that asks for your email. If you pop your email in there, actually, I will send you free stories in this world, and in other worlds like the superhero comic book character who kills his author. So you can get all of that there. I also have, work already out that's available on Amazon. Again, like the comic book character who shoots his author. If you like to read about blurs taking over the world and doing great things, and more in our setting, then I would go towards the superhero stuff, like the comic book character who shoots his author on Amazon. If you're interested more in sci-fi and kind of the connection between all human beings, I would look more into. I would, get ready for the big space opera. Like it's probably the reason I like this is my most. I've written over 1 million words in the course of becoming a pro author and getting professionally published. I also have indie work. And between those two worlds, there's plenty for you to choose from. So I would start at byjenfinelli.com, and kind of look around and see what you want to see. And I would make sure you follow Wordfire Press, and online, and look for their website for updates as well, for when all of this good stuff is going to come out. And then, of course, those of you who are here with the podcast, I hope you're already on Alicia's email newsletter list, because if you like tough ladies and you're interested in superhero stories, I've noticed that I've actually read some of her stuff, and I've noticed that a lot of her settings are informed by places she's actually lived, which I think is a really interesting thing to do, and it adds kind of that gritty bite to her work. So I definitely, there are a lot of places to find good work, and I would recommend. So I'm gonna plug 2 of mine and one of yours.
All right.
Get in on that. People need to get in on that.
I'm ready for limb myself. Okay. So I'd also love to hear what readers think about Jen's stories. Feel free to post a comment on my blog, and either me or Jen will respond. All right, guys, I'm author Alicia McCullough, and I write Black warrior women in sci-fi, fantasy, and horror for readers who want diverse protagonists and unique storylines. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to support me or donate to my Cup of Tea Fund, just head over to my blog on my website, find this post, and click on the donate button at the bottom. And if you're not one of my subscribers and want to join my League of Heroes, go to www.aliciamccullough.com to sign up for my newsletter, get updates, learn about my latest projects, and or purchase my diverse sci-fi and fantasy stories. And if you're already one of my subscribers, thank you so much. Please feel free to share this podcast with anyone you think might enjoy it. Okay, until next time, be a warrior. Show your courage, strength, and bravery. And thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye-bye.